we live in a society where people are kind of mixed up when it comes to rules. I begin to see that more and more the older I get. See, we kind of want to give people a break when it comes to certain rules, and then we want to kind of stick to the rules when it's not necessary. There's a situation that came up, and by the time this airs, we would have forgotten about it somewhat. It would have, time would have passed considerably by the time this airs. But there was a while back, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, passed on, and it ended the Elizabethan era. If I'm not mistaken, it goes down in the history books as Queen Elizabeth as being the longest reigning monarch of the English throne. And the English monarchy, there are certain rules in regards to reigning, and there are some extensive rules, and a lot of rules that people in other cultures, including the United States, including North American cultures, we do not totally understand. And part of the reason why the United States was established was because a clash of understanding. A lot of the reasons why the Pilgrims left was because they would not conform to some of the reasons and some of the rules associated with the rules. I know it was about taxes, but it's just some of the Pilgrims, they weren't down for a lot of the rules that they had in regards to regards to the monarchy. They just felt there was too many of them. And so they said, we're out of here, basically. Of course, if you want a little bit more history on that, more details, there's plenty of information out there, but that's basically in a nutshell. A lot of it had to do with taxes, of course, but, a lot of it had to do with they felt there was just too many rules. And they was like, okay, we're going to go find somewhere else to go. We heard about this place called America. People in Portugal and Spanish, people mentioned something about it over 100 and some years ago, so we're going to go check it out. So let's go ahead and head on over there and see what the big deal is and see if we can set something up. That's it in a nutshell. And that's what they did, and here we are today. But there's a whole lot of rules and regulations as far as running a country. And there's a huge amount of difference between a monarchy and a democracy. And there are a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of standards, a lot of practices. And when you get involved in a royal family, you have to understand that there are these rules have been around for centuries. Am I saying if they're right or wrong? No, I'm not saying that at all. It's not for me to say. I'm just saying that they've been around for a long time, period. Any rules that have been established by man, I'm sure that some of them are quite flawed. Okay? Because anything that's created by man is going to have some flaw to it. Because man's not perfect by nature, period. So, with that being said, during the time that, they're processing going through the process of, transferring the rulership of the dynasty from the Queen over to King Charles III. There's certain ceremonial practices that went through, and they were talking about, the certain order that the children and the grandchildren and the in-laws and that type of thing, how they had to proceed, how they had to walk, and the order that they had to go through, and how they had to speak, and how they had to stand, and things like that. That is all in the order of how they had to conduct themselves. There's certain hand gestures they had to use, certain ways that they have to speak. I mean, it's all written down. I mean, that's the level of accuracy and detail that is involved in being in the monarchy. I mean, this is how detailed it is, and a lot of people don't understand that. So when certain things come up in the media that are addressed by people in the United Kingdom in regards to, oh, well, someone walked a certain way, or somebody said something, or somebody nodded their head, or somebody raised their hand a certain way, and we see it over here in the U.S., and we think that they're being petty by observing that. We think that they're petty by observing that, but to them it's not being petty. It's like we think that it's small, and they think it's a big deal because it is a big deal to them. You see what I'm saying? We don't think it's a big deal because we don't observe those things. We don't observe those nonverbal cues. We don't pay attention to nonverbal communication like those people do over there. That's kind of like the Western philosophy versus Eastern philosophy thing, the way that people communicate in certain countries over there. There's certain things that are paid attention to that we don't pay attention to. So that's where the divide in communication comes in, because the way we interpret things is not the same way that they interpret things. So when they say, oh, well, Miss So-and-so said so-and-so, and they make a production out of it, we look at that and say, oh, well, what's the big deal? I don't see why they're making a big deal out of it. And we make a mockery of it. They view us as being lazy and insensitive and blah, 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 because we don't think it's a big deal. And then we turn around and call them as being oversensitive and blah, 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 because we don't have the same perspective of it. We don't understand because we don't look at it the same way. We just don't agree. The emphasis is not the same. That's all. So for us to turn around and judge someone and say, oh, well, like for instance, there was a situation with, one of the grandsons and his wife. I'm not going to say any names. Oh, well, such and such wasn't allowed to walk in the certain order when the Queen's coffin went down such and such. Now, this is what they said in America. Oh, they did her so wrong. They should have let her do so-and-so and let her walk over in so-and-so in such and such order and so-and-so. If she wasn't bugged about it and she didn't say anything about it, maybe that was the way it was supposed to be in that order. If she didn't have a problem with it and she didn't complain about it, but the people here in America were sitting up here screaming and hollering about it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody was all riled up about it. That's stuff like that. I just don't understand. It's like you're trying to create something that's not there. You're trying to get into something that's just not understand. You just don't fully understand how the system works over there. Okay? Don't try to make something that you don't fully understand into something that's difficult. It's a system that you don't understand. You're living in a democratic society and you don't even fully understand a monarchy, and you're trying to criticize it. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't criticize it. Just don't. You're talking about family of some mourning. Leave it alone. You know, you turn around and try and turn it into a situation that it's not. The family's in mourning. Don't turn around and try to create another negative situation out of it because you felt that a certain person should have been in a certain position walking behind the queen's coffin. I mean, it was just utterly ridiculous. I was happened to be looking at a clip from some commentary video. There's supposed to be some channel that talks about current events. And they were like, oh, well, they should have gave her a break and let her walk over with so and so and so and so, who was the other grandchild. They should have let her walk over there with them. That has nothing to do with it. Maybe the order of the procession, because of the way it was organized, maybe she was supposed to be in a certain order. You don't know. But because you wanted to put your spin on it, for whatever reason, you wanted to try to cause some shit. The family's in mourning. Okay? Yes, the queen was 96 years old, lived a very, very long life. That's true. But still, when you lose somebody, you're going to miss them regardless, no matter how old they are. And yes, she did have some health problems, died of natural causes, but still, the loss of a life is a loss of a life. You're going to miss that person no matter how old they are. So, if you don't fully understand something, just keep your mouth closed. Learn a little bit about the situation first. But don't sit there and try to cherry pick another confusing situation out of something that's already bad. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Peace.